Ahoy there, matey. This is your captain speaking. Today we'll be creating artworks featuring outfits I threw together in Dress to Impress. Now, if you're anything like me, you've been seeing this little Roblox dress-up game everywhere. I have close to no interest in Roblox, but I really enjoy putting outfits together and, of course, getting a little more competitive. So naturally, I decided to check it out. After a few rounds of figuring out where things were, I decided to start taking pics of any nice outfits I came up with and drew them for you guys in this video. So without further ado, let's start drawing. The first theme of the video is Gothic romance. I've really been wanting to play around with compositions and backgrounds since I feel like my artworks often look unfinished because of the quality of the background, or the lack thereof. I still wanted to keep the environment simple though, since I don't have much experience. I decided to draw the girl laying on her bed with the heart-shaped chocolate box next to her. Another thing you'll probably notice is that I wanted to add some perspective to the piece too. The bed is creating some obvious perspective lines, which I think helps out with the composition a lot. It creates some nice lines leading the eye across the piece. I also added some posters on the wall to make things look a little less empty. I placed more posters closer to the front than the back of the piece, so that the front will look more detailed and hopefully draw more of the viewer's attention. I used a bigger brush for the line art than I've been using for the past while. I wanted to see if I didn't prefer the thicker lines with the painterly style. Even after finishing the artwork, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it came out good, but I still don't know if I'd rather prefer the thinner lines like I have been doing. I tried out something different for the hair than I usually do. my, my curly hair usually comes out very flat and unconvincing, but this time I drew a bunch of coils, like how I would draw ribbons. After finishing each lock, I added some extra curls to make things look a little more hair-like. I think the curls actually turned out beautifully. I struggled a lot with drawing her legs and feet. The angle was very out of the ordinary. The angle was very out of the ordinary for me, and I just can't draw feet very well to begin with. I did end up giving her some socks since I didn't want to struggle drawing her toes. The heart box and its ribbon was pretty straightforward. I was going to draw the chocolates in the box too, but ended up keeping the lid closed. Yes, I was just too lazy to draw them. To make some of the artwork look farther away, I decided to erase the farther part of the line art lightly with an airbrush. I've never done this before or seen anyone else do this really, so I'm basically just testing out how it's going to look. I hoped it would have a similar effect as when you add different line thickness based on how close something is to the viewer. When I got to the base colors, I finally remembered to turn on my hand overlay. Don't get too used to it though, since I forgot it again in other sessions of the drawing. To start off, I just gave every object a different layer with their own colors to make the rendering easier for me later on. After all my objects were colored, I went in with more specific colors. Look, I know all the blacks are the same in the reference, but from an artistic standpoint, I can't bring myself to do that in the artwork too. Especially since they are overlapping. She ended up with some brown hair and an almost black-brown for her clothing. The red ended up very toned down compared to the reference, but this looks much more cute and harmonious. I added a low opacity darker layer over legs to give the look of tights as a final touch to the base colors, before I finally started rendering. I, of course, went all out with the rendering, or as much as I could with my skill level. I always try to keep things as painterly and colorful with the style as I can. I wasn't a big fan of how her eyes came out at first, but the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. I think the caramelly brown color is perfect for her. For some final touches, I added some highlights. For some final touches, I added some highlights to the front of her body, mostly just around her face and hair. I wanted to look like she was maybe looking at a screen. To contrast the blue, I added a nice warm light coming from beyond the foot of the bed. I didn't end up putting any makeup on her. My defense is that she just got home from her little date, cleaned her face, took off her shoes, and is now just checking her phone and enjoying her chocolatey gift. I am so proud of how this one came out. I really love it. I think I might actually upload this one to Imprint. Just popping in to remind you to like the video, which I assume you do if you made it this far, and subscribe if you would like to see more from me in the future. Our second and last theme of the video is Gyaru. I decided to make a simpler piece this time around, since the first one did take up a lot of brain power. I put our girl in a simple pose. I had her hold her hand against the rim of the artwork. I figured I could draw the piece like she was sort of standing in a door frame, being lit from the back. I'm not taking too much inspiration from the actual faces I chose during the game, but I did give this girl some nice full lips. I always forget that I can play around with facial features. Other than that, she also has some nice droopy eyes, which I think suit her perfectly. She also has some nice round cheeks to give her a more innocent look. The line art for her clothes are pretty simple since there's really not all that much going on. I did make a few adjustments, especially to the shirt with the choker part attached to it. I kind of forgot that part. The hair was so very fun to draw. I think it came out really cool, but there are some parts where, looking back now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Finally, getting into the colors, I was struggling a lot. Finding a good skin tone took me a good while, but I think I managed to find something that looked natural. I played around with the color of the shirt, but ultimately stuck to an almost black color. It looked a whole lot nicer than the white or the other colors I tested. For rendering, I had a lot of fun. The pop of red shading in the hair really looked nice to me, and not to mention, the shirt came out really good. The green bow and skirt, on the other hand, were pretty bad. Since the color was so bright, my usual rendering style didn't work too well on it. You can barely see the shading. I haven't had the chance to play around with brighter colors as much as darker ones. After rendering the piece, I added a multiply layer over her. I wanted to add some rim lighting in this way. I added a pink square to the background and a nice glow to her edges. I really like how she turned out, but let me know what you guys think. Did I do these girls justice? But that's that for this voyage. I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye!